Welcome to NucleCast, the official podcast of the ANWA Deterrence Center. Our host is Dr. Adam Wilder, co-founder and vice president for research at the National Institute for Deterrence Studies. The ANWA Deterrence Center is a 501c3 organization ensuring a broader understanding of the nation's strategic nuclear deterrent and its ongoing modernization. Thank you for listening and welcome to the show. The views of the host and the guests are their own.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of NucleCast. Of course, I'm your host, Adam Wilder. And today, of course, as always, we have a great guest. We're joined on this fine day by Deputy Associate Administrator for Management at the National Nuclear Security Administration, Marcus Lea. And we are going to talk about one of the important topics that we talk about a lot on NucleCast, and that, of course, is human capital and growing the workforce, because we have so many important programs, and we're looking at potentially a couple of new starts for weapons like the B6113, and if we have a if there's going to be a new warhead for a potential sea-based cruise missile, that's another potential program. And so we need the workforce to be able to make all that happen. And it's an unprecedented time for NNSA. Lots is going on. And of course, Marcus is the guy responsible to make sure that workforce is there to accomplish all of these tasks. Marcus, thanks for joining us on NucleCast.
Thank you, Adam, and really pleased to be here with you.
So, as we think about all of the programs that are ongoing, that may start, and your need to sort of fill that expanding role for NNSA, tell us about some of the ways, the activities, the things you're doing to make all of that possible.
Yes, that's a great question, Adam. Thank you very much. One of the things that we have realized within NNSA over the last, I'll say, 3 years is that recruitment and retention of our talent is really a primary focus of ours, should be a primary focus. We have taken on the recruitment aspect and evolved that in a way that allows us to leverage the full nuclear security enterprise. So one of the things that we have seen that has been very effective for us is taking all of the resources of all of our labs, plants, and sites, as well as our federal recruitment activity, and leveraging the strategic kind of approach and resources associated with that to hire those folks that we need to support the nuclear security mission across the board. We recently just held a Service Academy Career Conference, career fair. We attended that. That was in Atlanta, Georgia. I got to tell you, it was well attended. We had nuclear security enterprise presence there. We were all working together to ensure that we identified talent that would support the entire enterprise, and that we gathered those resumes and bring those back and make contact with those folks to ensure that we kind of pull them into understanding what our enterprise is about, and potential employment opportunities. One of the things that I think has been another strategy that we've used is ensuring that folks understand what our mission is and how important it is to our nation and to the world. We oftentimes come across individuals who say, NNSA, is that, what is that? Or they'll call us NSA, by accident, or NASA. I think even at the event, there were folks that were saying, is this NASA? No, it's not NASA. We actually have a mission that's much better than NASA, in my opinion. Not to begrudge them, but we have a very impactful mission that is just as exciting as theirs. And so one of the things that we've really tried to do is to engage with our potential candidates and help them to understand more about what we do, and the great work we have going on at all of our labs, plants, and sites. Once you get a sense of that, once you have had an opportunity to understand the impact of that, the fact that it supports the safety and security of our country, as well as our allies around the world, and our freedoms and way of life, I think that really kind of starts to give people a sense of, giving back. This, it taps into this desire to give back as they are considering, who they want to work with. That's one of the things that we've seen with the younger generation in particular, is that the type of work they do and the feeling that it gives them when it comes to contributing to the community and society is very important. And we think we have an excellent value proposition as it relates to that. Um, and we really try to highlight that. So, leveraging the support of our nuclear security enterprise as a unit has been really important for us, ensuring that individuals understand what we do and the importance of that work, and how it gives them the opportunity to contribute to um, our freedoms as a country, and the safety and security that we all enjoy. It has been very impactful to us.
Now, how have, because I've spent most of my career as a professor in the professional military education system, and ran nuclear schools and did things of that sort. And as I've worked with civilian academics, civilian academia tends not to be particularly supportive of the mission that the DoD nuclear enterprise and NNSA does. And so you have to recruit in a world where you don't have a cheering crowd saying, hey, go work for these guys. They build the nation's nuclear warheads. So how do you sort of sell that mission to folks and say, hey, I know, maybe you've not heard all this, but here's the reason these things are really important and they really matter. What are you doing that helps convey that message and helps young people say, you know what, I might have heard this, but I didn't know about all these positive things. What are you doing to make all that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question, Adam, and I totally understand what you're talking about there, with kind of the focus of academia on kind of the broader spectrum of opportunities out there. So one of the things that we try to do is to leverage the technical staff that we have within NNSA to be able to communicate during information sessions or career fairs, the no kidding science of what we do, the exciting nature of the work we are engaged in. We think what that does is it has a way of overcoming, I think, some of the um, the unawareness, or just not people not knowing about the degree to which we engage in those scientific activities and those research opportunities. And I think it provides a more deeper understanding of the work we do. So leveraging the technical talent, the STEM folks that we've got doing the work every day, the very exciting work every day, to be able to explain more deeply what we do and how that work gets accomplished is very important in that regard. I think also just ensuring that we balance the message with the the fact that we operate in a world that sometimes is a challenge. I mean, there are um, there are people who don't like our way of life as a country, and so we have to, or that they don't share our values. And so we have to always be mindful of the nuclear deterrent as a way to preserve our ultimately our way of living. And I think being able to appeal to that as a way to contribute is one of the ways that I think we try to get at that component. It's always going to be very competitive for talent. I mean, competition is great. We've got so many different industries vying for STEM talent. I mean, you can't, you got the Googles, of course, and you got all of these different organizations that are doing all kinds of things to get the best talent. um, Really and truly, it really is about the impact that you get to make on your fellow citizens' lives. I think that is a key message for us. Whenever we go to recruit, we're constantly communicating about the impact of the work we do, and the opportunity to be able to engage in that work, to appeal to that sense of being able to make a difference, a real difference, that will be lasting in many instances throughout our society. So that's kind of how we do that, Adam.
So one of the challenges that it's a national challenge. It's not necessarily an NNSA challenge, but it affects the NNSA, and it's this notion of when American kids go to college, they have a tendency not to go into the kinds of STEM fields that NNSA, for example, needs a lot of talent in. And I think back to the space program, and when we said, hey, we're going to go to the moon, that really sort of energized young kids to say, hey, I want to study those things because I might want to be an astronaut. And we saw this influx of American youth going into these programs. And I wonder, for us, as nuclear enterprise folks, how do we get Americans to shift their interest into nuclear engineering, material science, mechanical engineering, all of these kinds of engineering fields that we're just not seeing our youth sort of flock to? Are you guys finding that you have programs that are sort of helping you there? Is it by pairing with specific schools? Is it a national effort? What are you guys doing to at least try to meet your own needs?
Yeah, Adam, that's a great question, and inspiring our youth is one of the things that we strive to do, particularly through one of our programs, the Minority Serving Institutions Partnership Program. Um, we are dealing with programs that support STEM education from K through graduate level education. And so this program allows us to be able to build that pipeline and to encourage students and support students as they seek these more STEM focused opportunities. It's really about inspiring students to understand what opportunities exist and how our technology is used and what benefit it has to the country. It's the inspiration aspect of what we do has to be essential to that. I used to work for NASA actually. I served as the HR director for Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, and I can tell you that one of the things that NASA does is it leverages an education program that starts very young with inspiring kids about space and things of that nature. We are attempting to do something very similar through our Minority Serving Institution Partnership Program. Is this let folks understand what your STEM talent, what getting a degree in STEM could mean for you, and how it supports not only going into the space industry, but also our nuclear security, nonproliferation, and ensuring that we've got a nuclear deterrent that will allow us to be able to continue with our way of life, and so it can be difficult. It's a difficult sell, I think, with the generation that we're talking about. But if we communicate effectively how an education in STEM can support many avenues of opportunity, inclusive of what we do, not we're not saying that we don't want to necessarily prevent folks who want to go into STEM from going to work for these other industries that support our national interest. But we certainly want to broaden that pool or make that pool bigger so that we can leverage that for the nuclear security enterprise as well. Inspiration is the key. If we can inspire with the type of technology and the things that we do, we can do it. And I got to tell you, I took a trip to Pantex about 6 to 9 months ago, I think it was, and I was absolutely floored by some of the things that I didn't realize we were engaged in. I mean, the sheer technology of it was absolutely amazing to me, and I was inspired as a 24 year, civil servant. I was inspired by the work that was going on in support of national security and nonproliferation. And I think that same inspiration is what we've got to be able to communicate to the youth, and having them involved, having them be able to get a sense of what that technology is, hearing from the people who are engaged in that work, providing them with, kind of a hands-on experience to the extent that we can. I think supports us being able to begin to turn kind of the tide of interest there, bring them more to us. And then one of the things that I've found as it relates to inspiring youth is it's not a one and done. You've got to build relationships with organizations that are engaged in this. You got to build relationships with the student cadre, and you got to be present and available to them to help them to understand that, hey, I'm not just selling you on an opportunity or a discipline in this moment, but I am here to support you in any decisions that you make throughout your academic career. Those kinds of relationships really yield good results for us. We see that through our Minority Serving Institution Partnership Program. We see that through the relationships we've built through our NNSA Graduate Fellowship Program. It's another great feeder program into the nuclear security enterprise. We consider it to be the premier fellowship program in the government. Um, those are some of the things we're doing to try to ensure that we maintain those relationships, build those relationships, and continue to inspire youth and students at every level of education.
So as you think about maintaining these ties, and you've talked about a couple of different programs that you have, I guess I wonder sometimes I think back to my own self, and now being a guy who's pushing 50 and looking back and saying, man, I wish if I would have known about all of these things when I was a young guy, because most of the opportunities that I think are really cool and I wish I would have taken, I had no clue even existed. There was nobody to sort of, mentor me and say, hey, Adam, pursue this path, stick to it, do these things, take this step, not this step. Are there sort of those very sort of heavy touch points where perhaps, engineers or, you mentioned using that technical talent where, an engineer in a lab that's, let's say, sort of close to a few schools, that those engineers have said, hey, you know what, I'll be that guy or that gal, and I'll talk to these kids, and I'll be somebody they can call if they've got a question, and I'll mentor and give guidance. Can you talk about that kind of, very one-on-one work? Is that going on, and how is that going?
Yeah, yeah. So we do have mentors and mentee programs that we sponsor within NSA and that we champion. We actually just had a group of students that were coming to the Washington D.C. area about a month or so ago, and we were able to um, identify someone to go speak with them about opportunities with NNSA and kind of the work we do as a group. And that was kind of an ad hoc call we had gotten, but we take those opportunities seriously, and they are opportunities. We can't, and I can't over. I don't want to underestimate the importance of those interactions from a group mentoring standpoint and from a one-on-one. So we do those. We leverage those across the enterprise. The point that you make really resonates with me. I remember when I was pursuing a career after getting out of graduate school, and I had no clue as to how the process worked. I had no clue as to where do I go to kind of plug into the stream of opportunities. It was all kind of learn as you go, and I had a lot of failure to kind of behind me. Lessons learned, good lessons learned, but really saw the opportunity to be able to leverage those experiences to ensure that others who followed me did not have that same experience. It's just a matter of knowledge. And so I absolutely resonate with the point. The point you make resonates with me because it's one that we find, with particularly on the federal side of things, can be a little bit daunting. How you apply for a federal job is a lot different than and an internship even, than how you might go about that, in private sector in general. And then when you take into consideration the nuclear security enterprise and all of the opportunities that we have within that cadre, and the somewhat varied approach that could be used from one location to the next, it puts a premium on mentorship and understanding how those specific processes work. So we will have brown bags that we will put on, and those brown bags are intended to communicate to individuals who would like to participate what those processes are. We will leverage a platform called Brazen to get at kind of this virtual kind of recruitment and information sessions. We will have those as a way to get the word out about opportunities and start those mentoring kind of moments. Have those mentoring moments be present, which then allow those relationships to be built to inform and guide students as they are at key decision points throughout their matriculation. But it's really about, we do support mentorship. That is a key part of how we pull in and feed the pipeline. We do provide those information sessions, which is critical to getting the word out across the country about the opportunities, and also supportive of this letting people know what we do objective as well, and kind of evangelizing that point. We utilize those in that way. And the event that we have going on is an event we have coming up on February 28th that is absolutely supportive of this same kind of idea of understanding where the opportunities are, knowing who to plug into, knowing having access to individuals to talk with about the opportunities. That's happening on February 28th at Claflin, at Claflin University there in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And we are pleased to be able to announce that event, and are excited to support the South Carolina Low Country. We've had several engagements with the Low Country. As you know, Savannah River is in that area, and it gives us the opportunity to recruit from that local community, as well as recruit for opportunities that exist across the nation. So this is a nuclear security enterprise event. It is one of the many events that we do collectively with all of our partners across the NSE, and we really, again, are excited about the impact that it'll have to Claflin as an institution, and other universities in that area, as well as the local community. One of the commitments that we made to the Low Country is that we would highlight more opportunities in that area, and this is just following through on that.
This episode of Nuclecast is brought to you by the AMLA Deterrence Center, whose mission is to educate Americans about the nuclear enterprise and strategic deterrence.
Now, let's suppose you've done all of these things, and you've had your events, and you've identified talent. And then, for you and I, guys who have spent, 20 years in the federal civil service, you then come up against this giant wall that is the federal civil service. And it is not easy, at least on the DoD side. I mean, maybe you've cracked that code because this is your specialty, but just saying, hey, I've got the right person. They're motivated, they're brilliant, they've got the exact skills we need, and then getting them in the door. Are you guys able to make all of that happen? Have we've tried to create, we've got the AD system, which is a little easier to hire. We've got the I'm drawing a blank. I know you guys use it. That are all these that are alternatives to the GS system. What are you guys doing to create a more favorable environment to bring in the talent that maybe they don't have the, veterans disability, or they don't have some of the, they're not a military spouse, or you pick all of these categories that can sort of knock really good young talent out. what are y'all doing to bring that talent in?
Adam, I really appreciate that question. And the one thing that I will tell you is, um, when you compare the federal hiring process to the private sector hiring process, it is like night and day. There's a lot more flexibility that private sector entities have to be able to go out here and quickly hire someone who they think meet the requirements of the job and have the skills that they need to acquire. Um, I can tell you that our labs, plants, and sites have more flexibility there than your traditional federal kind of inside of NNSA, and so I think we certainly leverage those flexibilities on our NSC side greatly. So I would encourage all of our folks to be have hope. There is flexibility on our labs, plants, and sites side of the house to be able to hire in a more flexible way than what you will find on the federal side. That said, NNSA does have flexibilities on the federal side as well. We have the accepted service authority that allows us to be able to hire people pretty much kind of like direct hire or right off the street. That's a flexibility that was provided to NNSA because of its mission and the importance of it. You'd hate to see a hiring system stop you from being able to get critical talent in place to do the important job that we do. And so that accepted service authority provides us with that tool to allow us to be able to hire people quickly. So we do have that flexibility. The other thing that we have is our demonstration project. Oftentimes compensation within the GS system, the federal government system, can be pretty regulated and prescriptive. We have flexibility in how we set pay. We have flexibility in how quickly people move from one level to the next. We oftentimes tout our demonstration project as allowing us to be able to recognize those high performers with faster growth and pay. And so I can tell you that I think our system is right at the top of systems within the federal government when it comes to recognizing pay for performance um, without regard to tenure as much. The federal system is generally a tenure based system. If you're a high performer, you can move quickly within NSA on the federal side, and we also believe that it provides greater compensation. So not just moving to the top, but greater compensation than our GS counterparts. So um, that's a great point you raise, Adam. The systems that we operate within can be sometimes a barrier, I think, to being, doing things quickly. But NNSA has been able to leverage flexibilities provided it by Congress to be able to overcome that challenge. So great question, and really appreciate you asking that.
Now, it is that time in the show where I like to bring out Bob the Genie. And as I rub my magic lamp, of course, Bob grants all guests 3 wishes, but they have to be related to the topics we've been discussing. So, no world peace, no unlimited wishes. So, as Bob grants you your 3 wishes, Marcus, what is wish number 1?
Adam, I love Bob, by the way. I love the idea of Bob. I mean, this is great. So I have had an opportunity to kind of think about this, and I think really what I would say first is really a full understanding by our public, by our citizens, of the importance of the nuclear deterrent, the non-proliferation and counterterrorism work we do, and our naval reactors mission. Just really understanding that and how that supports the safety and security, and quite frankly, the freedoms that we all enjoy and that are really kind of foundational to the system we have in this country. So I think that would be one of the first things that I would ask for is that understanding of the importance of the mission and how it really supports the way of life we have here. The next is really kind of this idea of STEM talent. We touched on it, but I think just ensuring that we could create um, this appreciation for STEM talent, for STEM as kind of a group of disciplines, and the importance of that to our future, and and really have those folks who are pursuing education, not, you know, art is great and philosophy is great. I mean, I'm totally, I'm a fan of those things. Um, but to the extent that you have an inclination or interest in those STEM areas, to pursue those areas with this eye towards, community service and support. I think if I could, have Bob, grant a wish, it would be to kind of shift the mindsets there just a little bit, help us shift the mindset there. And then the third one for me would be more personal. It would really be, innovation, making sure that I remain open as a leader supporting this work to the ways that we can improve, that I remain kind of agile and always open to new ideas. One of the things that I've learned as a leader is that as much as you want to be, you think you're open, there's a chance that you may not be. And so just making sure that I remain open to being innovative and coming up with strategies and ideas, and being open to hearing those from others that could absolutely impact the effectiveness of our recruitment and retention effort. I think that would be a personal request that I would make from Bob, and it's not to be a millionaire. It would really be to be more open to the innovative ideas out there, and to take advantage of them.
Now, as we close out the show, and our listeners have been listening and thinking about what you've offered today, what would you want as your walking away message, that takeaway?
Well, wow, that takeaway, I really would like to put an S on that, but number one is that we have exciting work, um, that we are engaged in. We have a career's worth of opportunity for you. And we would love to have you, the best and the brightest, come support this great mission that we have. Um, that would really be my message or takeaway to any STEM anyone who's seeking employment. And I want to make a point too, whether it's a skilled trade or it's a PhD in nuclear physics. We really want, and can use all of that great talent, and we've got great opportunities for you. And I would love to be able to leave that message in a way that cause people to be interested in the work we have, and to give us a call and inquire about those opportunities.
All right, Marcus Lea, Deputy Associate Administrator for Management at the National Nuclear Security Administration. Thanks for joining us on NucleCast.
Thank you, Adam. Really appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
And thanks to you, the listeners, for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Marcus Lea, what a great, it was a great interview to talk about all of the programs, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't know all of the things NNSA was doing to recruit talent, all the different programs and fellowships and partnerships with schools. And so it was really interesting to hear what all they're doing to try to bring in that talent, particularly as we're not building enough engineers and we're not building enough of that technical talent. So to see NNSA reaching out and trying to get that good talent, that was great to hear.
This has been a production of the AMLA Deterrence Center, a 501c3 that seeks to educate key decision makers, stakeholders, and the public to ensure a broader understanding of the nation's strategic nuclear deterrent. Our executive producer is Kimberly Charrington, and this episode has been engineered and mixed by David Crumpaw. Help us grow our followers by sharing it, and follow the show on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter at NucleCast.